Welcome to the Google Cloud Security Showcase, a special web series where we'll focus on security use cases that customers can solve with Google Cloud. My name is Aspen Cheryl, and I am a cloud security architect at Google. Today, we're discussing VPC Service Controls, or VPCSC in short, our solution for preventing data exfiltration from managed services in Google Cloud. Specifically, we'll be discussing various architectures for VPCSC deployments and factors that should influence how you design your VPCSC perimeters. For context, the content that I'm covering here assumes you already know the basics of how VPCSC perimeters work. You put projects into your perimeter and you restrict the services that you want VPCSC to protect. Then you allow list flows as needed. That said, jumping right in, I'll cover a few basics first. Google's best practice recommendation is to perimeterize all projects and protect all services. The reason for this is that any unprotected projects or services are potential exfil vectors out of your org, which is exactly what VPCSC is intended to prevent. Consider now this perimeter design, which is Google's best practice recommendation. This is the macro or mega perimeter architecture where everything is inside one large VPCSC perimeter. This means no projects are unprotected that could be leveraged for data exfiltration, which is good, but it also means that your primary concern as an administrator will be managing north-south flows, so into and out of your organization. Similar to firewall management, north-south flows are generally pretty manageable for the team that owns the security control. Compare that now to a multi-perimeter approach. Some orgs like to use VPCSC to segment their various development environments, or by trust zones, or by business units. What I want you to notice is that now you're not only managing those north-south flows. Now you're managing east-west flows too. And for many organizations, that can be a pretty substantial amount of traffic and a pretty significant pain point. The last perimeter design I'll mention is called a micro perimeter or a crown jewel perimeter. Some orgs will isolate really sensitive data like intellectual property into a micro perimeter, or they might create a micro perimeter based on compliance standards, such as having a PCI zone or an ITAR zone. If you do use a micro perimeter approach, do not use it in isolation. That is, don't create a micro perimeter and then leave the rest of your projects unprotected. Orgs that are using micro perimeters effectively use them in conjunction with macro perimeters, so in a macro-micro design. An example here would be very security-conscious retail orgs that put 95% of their environment into a macro perimeter, and then they make a micro perimeter for their PCI zone. Everything is still protected, and they have that additional layer of isolation, but those north-south flows and east-west flows are still manageable at scale. The key takeaway here is that the more perimeters you have, the more complexity increases. And it increases exponentially, not logarithmically. The one exception I'll mention is that we have several large MSSPs on our platform who go the extra mile to isolate their own customers' environments inside Google Cloud. And in that case, having lots of tiny little perimeters is more likely to be manageable because every one of their customers' environments are identical, and there are rarely, if ever, any east-west flows between perimeters to manage. So, in summary, choose a perimeter design early on that will set your org up for success in the long term. You want to avoid creating a lot of perimeters right at the start and trying to do micro-segmentation with VPCSC that then becomes unmanageable as your organization grows. So the fewer perimeters you start with, the easier it will be to manage long term. For most organizations, a single macro or mega perimeter design is by far the easiest to manage and scale. And it still accomplishes the intended purpose of VPCSE, which is preventing unauthorized data exfiltration out of your organization. To learn more about VPCSE, watch our other videos or visit our product page.